Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Angels and Destiny show. Why is this show called this, you may ask? So I'll tell you. The accepted meaning of angel is messenger, and the accepted meaning of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guest and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And of course, I love working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I will introduce you to my wonderful guest, Erin Berry. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching this show live at a later date, as it means a lot to both of us to connect with like minded people. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Ray, and I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy. And I'm a spiritual guide and healer who is passionate about helping you reconnect with your divine presence and step into your purpose. Now, through angelic Reiki, angel oracle cards, guided meditations, and exploring past and future lives, I support you in healing your past and creating a soul aligned future. Now, my journey has taught me that with the right tools and guidance, we can all connect with our higher selves, embrace transformation, and live a life full of abundance and fulfillment. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation, oracle card reading, with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Erin Berry, about how our energy, body, and nervous system hold the truth about our relationships. Now, Erin is a conscious relationship and intimacy coach who helps individuals and couples heal relational wounds through the wisdom of the body and nervous system. Her somatic approach transforms old patterns into new pathways of safety, pleasure, and authentic connection. Now, with testimonials such as Erin has an uncanny ability to recognize blocks and my blind spots, and a very gentle way to bringing these to my attention and helping work through them. The focus was constantly on me. I trust her implicitly. Now that I've done this work, I'm much more willing to insist that my needs be met and much less willing to tolerate anything other than what I'm worthy of. And I came to Erin when I just hit the lowest point in my life. Everything I ever wanted was taken from me. I was living with bad anxiety attacks, not sleeping at all, and very depressed. It was very hard for me to open up, but I trusted Erin because she isn't dry like Tim. I have less anxiety now, and I know how to set the boundaries that I've never before done. So, without further delay, hello, Erin, and a warm welcome to the Angels and Destiny show. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So, before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, leave comments, and thoughts, as both Evan and I want to be part of this conversation. So, please don't be shy. So, Erin, why don't you tell us more about your journey and how learning to listen to our nervous system and intuition can save us time, energy, and heartache?
Sure. Well, it has been my personal journey. So I now know that my entire life, up until I learned what I'm about to share, I was living from a place of an activated nervous system. And basically, my nervous system was trained to think that that was what relationships felt like, that unsafety was safe. At the same time, I'm an intuitive person, I'm very empathic. And growing up, I was really taught to question that. And so I learned from a very early age to bypass my intuition. And what I've learned putting them both together is that the nervous system and our intuition work hand in hand to make sure we're on the right path. And if we learn how to listen to that and create safety for ourselves, then we call in those kind of relationships. So the more that I did this work for myself, I basically ended up getting divorced about 9 years ago and really leaned into learning more about relationships and what we're actually up to. And the more that I learned, I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to share this with as many people as will listen. So, hey, thanks for having me on so more people can hear.
Oh, you're welcome. I think it's quite important actually that we develop strong relationships with other people that are beneficial to both parties and to everyone else involved because really aren't really meant to be here as an individual alone, whether that's through romantic or friendship.
Completely. I feel like humans, well, I know humans are wired for connection. What's funny is some of us really try and dive into that more than we need to, and some of us pull away because of how our nervous system feels.
Yeah. So how do we get to a point where our nervous system kind of like doesn't allow us to trust our intuition, doesn't allow us to have those healthy relationships?
I think there's a lot that goes into it, but really from our earliest relationships, we are wired for a certain kind of attachment. So we either tend to learn that it's unsafe to be out of connection from a nervous system perspective, which would be anxiously attached. We learn it's not safe to be in connection and we run away, which would be considered avoidant. We learn to seek connection from unhealthy, unsafe people. So there's a push pull effect, which is called disorganized. And then secure is just what it sounds like. You're like just totally the anchor, secure in your system. And so a lot of this is unconscious. And what we're doing is we're going through our lives trying to undo that, to complete the pattern. So we keep seeking opportunities along the way to try and do that. But after doing some work, what you realize is those connections don't feel good. It's actually very ick in the nervous system. So the work is really about becoming safe in your own body. That's a lot of the work I do with people is like they have never even thought about being safe to themselves. And then also there's this level of people know that they're intuitive. They know that they have this inner knowing, but we've learned to mistrust ourselves. So there's a big part of this that is really about learning to trust yourself again. I like to use Brene Brown's example of the marble jar, which is that trust is like putting marbles in the jar. We do that with people, but we also do it with ourselves. And so we have to learn to actually listen to and honor those inner knowings so that we build trust with ourselves. So it's kind of a both and.
Yeah. But I suppose the problem that some people have is, yes, but how do I do that? How do I learn to trust and listen to that intuition?
Right? Well, with little things at first, like of course, we're talking today because I've just noticed in the last couple of weeks, like one of the first things that I ever realized around intuition is I would think about somebody and then they would call. I mean, there's little ways that we can see every single day that our intuition is guiding us. We also feel it. I feel like we all feel it differently. So for me, it's just this like knowing. I know some people actually feel it in their gut. I've had people who can feel it like on their back body. And when that happens, it's to honor it, even if it feels ridiculous. There was one of my favorite examples of this is a couple of years ago. I went to see a symphony with my friend, and she had me park in this parking lot. And as I drove into the parking lot, I realized there was a fence around it. I kept thinking, I'm going to get locked in here. And I ignored it. And we went to the symphony. And then we went out afterwards and we're sitting there talking. And I had this just hit of like, your car's about to get locked in that parking lot. Totally ignored it. Yeah, I ended up having to go back and get my car the next morning because it was locked in. So that's like a good example of like just all the silly ways that we're getting information and still ignoring them.
Yeah, and I think we do have a tendency of doing that. We'll get that little nudge and go, yeah, I'm not sure whether that is true or not, it's real or not. I'm just going to carry on and do what I do. But then when you get the second one, that's when you kind of go, oh, okay, maybe I should be doing something. But again, sometimes we're just so caught up in the moment that we forget to listen to it again.
Yeah. And I think there's some resistance there sometimes as well. So going back to the wiring of the nervous system, one of my biggest lessons actually happened a couple of years ago when I ended up with a head injury on the mountain. And it was actually a universal 2x4 because I had this deep inner knowing that something wasn't right. And I kept going with it. And I ignored all those, like first a little poke, then there's like a little shake, then there's a nudge, and then there was just this like whap where it got to the point where I could not ignore the thing I needed to release. And that was a big wake up moment for me. Like, you know what? From now on, I think I'm going to listen to the little poke.
Yeah, might be an idea, especially if you're planning on going up a mountain.
Right? I mean, I have gone back to that exact spot and paid so much gratitude to it because it did shift my life and I ended up getting exactly what I wanted. That's the other funny thing. Most of the time, we're ignoring all these signals telling us to do something because what we want is right on the other side of that.
Yeah, and we do forget that these signals we get are for our benefit, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. There is always a benefit as to why we're being guided in a certain direction, whether we listen to it or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. The universe, I like to say, is always working in our favor. And I think with relationships, the reasons that we end up kind of there is because we really want connection. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with that are settling for people because it's closer to what they want or it's got parts of what they want. And we forget that we can hold out for everything we want. We just have to align with that energy.
Yeah. But again, I think it's programming and society that has said we have to settle for something to give us that relationship, with whether it's friends or partners, rather than actually you can have a good relationship with yourself until the right people come into your life.
Oh, completely. Yeah. I mean, self love is foundational to everything. I mean, the way we treat ourselves is what we call in. It's a reflection of, you know, what we say to ourselves and how we act. So, absolutely. I used to say you have to fully love yourself to call in love. I don't think that's actually true anymore. I feel that relationships will always be the reflection of where we're at and where we still need to heal. And relationships are always going to bring us closer to our original essence if we allow them to. So it's a
Yeah.
both and self love journey.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, that because they do say that what we attract into our life is a reflection of what we're giving out to it. So if you even have some self-love for yourself, then you're going to attract someone that is going to have that part of self-love for you, that you'll be able to have self-love and maybe grow from it.
Right. Yeah. A lot of the single people I work with, it's all about aligning with that. And even looking at going back to those attachment styles I was talking about in the beginning, usually if we're, say, attracting an avoidant type of partner consistently, there's probably some area of our life where we're being avoidant. So it might not be the relationship, but it could be around our bank account. It could be around our career or even our friendships, because I really do think that friendships, as you have mentioned a few times, they are the most important relationships we have. Some of them last longer than our romantic relationships, and yet sometimes we don't give them the same effort and energy that we do our romantic relationships. So, yeah, it's really looking at if something's showing up in your life, where are you being that in your own world?
Yeah. So how would people start recognizing that?
Yeah, well, I mean, from a nervous system perspective, if you are feeling like you are putting more effort into your relationships, if you are feeling anxious when your person is not in touch with you and you feel like you're always coming towards, that's an indicator that you might be feeling a little bit anxiously attached. If you constantly are trying to pull away, like every time feelings get super intense, you peace out and try and hide, and you're really focused on being super independent and about your freedom, you might be avoidant. And so the ways to actually deal with those two things in relationship is to attune with and co-regulate your own nervous system, be with yourself, provide to yourself what you need if you're feeling that more anxious. And if you're feeling more avoidant, it's to do the uncomfortable thing and lean in. I mean, both of these are uncomfortable because we are trying to get away from whatever that discomfort is.
Yeah, and we do tend to try and avoid discomfort as much as possible. if we can. Again, I think that's a society thing, something from childhood that comes to play in our life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we were told so many stories when we were kids. I mean, some of the work I do in the world is inner child, integration and parental transformation, because us as little children are needing our needs met from these people who, even if they were meeting our needs in the most amazing way, is probably not the way we need our needs met. And we've put them on a pedestal because they're the parent, and then we make ourselves wrong. Like something must be wrong with us for not getting our needs met. And then we tell ourselves all sorts of stories about what that means. We're not lovable, we're not worthy, we're not deserving, all the things that everyone in the world is saying and not realizing we're all saying them.
Yep, we certainly know that one. Hence why I don't really watch the news or anything like that, because it's like, no, I'm not listening to what's going on out there. Just going to stick to my own world, what's going on around me.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just from an energetic standpoint, I had to stop watching the news a long time ago because it made me feel helpless, and better to just stay in my center and share like this and hold space than I am to spin my wheels.
Yeah. So what kind of work do you do, and what clients do you work with?
Yeah, so I work with singles and couples, and that's both women, men, and then together. Um, for the men, I actually have a men's group, and then I do one on one coaching with them. And a lot of the work is similar between men and women. That's been one of the most interesting things about working with both of them, is hearing both sides and recognizing we all want the same things. We're just communicating them a little different, or we process different, but that desire is there. And then with women, very similarly, I've got a pleasure membership actually that is more focused around self love, self care. And then I work one on one with women. And then with my couples work, I do relationship coaching, and then I do intimacy coaching. I have a background in Tantra. I actually lead couples retreats and workshops, and it's all somatic based. So, really, to me, at least for me personally, that was the missing piece initially. I had done so much of the therapy. I'm an energy worker myself, and I recognized there was still some stuff sitting in my physical body. Like you were talking about, the conditioning, the trauma, the stress, the karma is just sitting there. And so if you've ever had that thought, I should know better, you do, but there's still this pattern that's kind of interrupting and operating unconsciously. So it just clears that stuff and helps integrate it. A lot of times you'll see people saying, I need to get rid of that part or shun that part. No, actually, we need to meet it with unconditional love and acceptance. It's been doing something good for us, like trying to protect us or keep us safe, but now it's keeping us from what we want, actually, most of the time.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. So, how did you actually get into this? I mean, obviously, you said you had your own issues that you worked through, but what made you decide to work through them and then get into the work that you were doing?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, I got divorced almost a decade ago. And it was really at the end of that relationship that I thought to myself, I knew there was something I was doing. I didn't know what it was. All I knew was I did not want to repeat it ever again. And so I set off on my own journey, which was all for me personally. When I started doing the intimacy and relationship work, it came from wanting to know what was possible from intimacy, actually, because I feel like I barely scratched the surface on that in my marriage. And I just felt like there was something that I didn't know that would help me. And then actually during COVID, this training showed up for me where it was a year-long program learning how to be a relationship and intimacy coach. And I had already been doing self-love work, actually. I also think if you look at my astrology, it says that my like entire existence this time around is around love and relationships, starting with the relationship we have with ourselves. So, yeah, the more that I leaned into that program and did the work for myself, I realized, wow, this is a game changer. And I wanted to share it with as many people as I could.
Wow, beautiful. The fact that you actually recognized that there was work to be done, because we do, I think a lot of people don't recognize there is work to be done. We kind of think, okay, that relationship's finished. That was what it was. Now I need to move on to the next one without thinking, well, maybe need to do some work on that before I move on to the next one. Because you see people go from relationship to relationship to relationship without taking that time in between to go, actually, maybe I need to look at this.
Right. I mean, we are all bringing 50%. There's always a part that we have to own. So if we're always like pointing the blame at somebody else, it's time to turn that around and see how you're creating those same patterns. Yeah, I was thinking my journey began long before that. Like a two decades before that, I went on my first retreat. I think I was sharing this with you. And really, this woman asked me if I loved myself. It was such a simple question. And I was like kind of taken off guard. And I was like, well, of course I do. And we were doing all this work around meditation and listening to your thoughts. And I started to like listen to Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, on the way home. And oh man, I said like nothing loving to myself at all. In fact, I like hated myself when it really came to it. So I had already kind of ripped off the lid of Pandora's box, as I like to say. And I had reached that point of just feeling really stuck and uncomfortable and miserable. And I just felt like that wasn't what the human experience was supposed to be.
Yeah. And anyone who's watching, if you've got any questions that you want to ask, then please do pop them in the comments. You've got the chance now with Erin here to actually have any questions answered if you're happy to share publicly. And you never know what answers you may get, and no question is too silly or strange to ask, because there's going to always be someone who's going to be wanting to ask that question anyway, as we all know, in their life. So, as you know, I do guided meditations and angel oracle cards, and each week I like to ask my guests what they would like me to do. But I do know that Erin has something that she'd quite like to share with us.
Yeah. So my thought here is to do a little somatic practice, which is a desire system practice. So it's a guided meditation. And this is actually something that athletes use when they are preparing. Actually, I have a friend whose kid's on the ski team, and we did this together to help her. I think she got third in the race. So it's really what it's doing is it's teaching your body and telling your body that you're having the lived experience of what you desire, because a lot of times that's our block. And if you notice any discomfort in your body, that's an indicator that there is some sort of block within you that needs to be integrated. So, shall we do this?
Let's do this.
All right. So, go ahead and just close your eyes. And I always like to start by wiggling. I'm like queen of shaking it off, which it's a both and. It helps clear stress cycles, but it also helps you root your sit bones. And it also says, "Hey, okay, we're going down into the body now." And then go ahead and visualize at the base of your skull there is a knob, and you're going to turn that knob. Allow all of your residual thoughts to drain down into the space of your heart. This doesn't mean your thinking's going to stop. It just means that now you're watching the thoughts like fluffy white clouds just floating by. And then we're going to go into just a really simple body scan. So if you feel like you're really stuck up in your head, this is a really good way to check in with your body. So all you're going to do is notice where you're feeling sensation and what the sensation is. You might feel numbness, you might feel spaciousness, warmth, cold, tingling, or itching. I always feel like the itches show up when I do this practice. And it's easy to go down the rabbit hole here of trying to figure out why you're having the sensation. If you notice you're doing that, just bring yourself back to the sensation and location. And then we're going to bring in this visualization. So for this, I like to just let it fill in, but I want you to think of one thing that you really desire. And we're going to see it in the five senses. So if this was your reality right now, notice what you see around you. Maybe you're in nature, maybe you're with your favorite people or an animal. Just notice what you see. And then I want you to notice the quality of touch. So this could be maybe fabric on your skin, the quality of the air. Maybe it's an embrace from someone you love. And then you're going to notice what you hear. Maybe you hear laughter or talking or a gentle breeze or the ocean. Maybe it's the purr of a cat. So just noticing what you hear as you hold this vision for what you desire. And the last two are a bit trickier, but just stay with me, try your best. You're going to notice what you smell. So maybe it's fresh air or the scent of someone else or the ocean. It's just noticing what's there. And finally, noticing what you taste. Maybe it's fresh water or chocolate or a piece of your favorite fruit. And now I want you to hold all five of those senses at the same time as you hold this vision for your desire. And just take a moment to lock this into your entire system as if it's happening to you right now in this moment. And then as you're ready, you can let this fall away and just give yourself a moment here to integrate in stillness before you come back into the space.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for letting me do it.
Oh no, that was amazing. I actually saw my retreat property. I smelt the fresh air and the smell of fire from a group of people that were drumming around it. Tasted the fresh air. Yeah, it was beautiful. It's amazing. Thank you.
Awesome. I can't wait to experience this retreat center.
My God, yeah. It's been it's been a long time coming, and it's getting and I can it's almost within touch now. So yeah, but I have released it. I'm not sort of like as 100% focused because I know if I do, then I'll take off. But yeah, it's there waiting for me to actually for the universe to actually hand it to me at the right moment in time. So yeah, thank you so much for that.
Oh, my pleasure.
So as you did that for us, I'm going to pull a card for you and everyone watching. So
Wonderful.
as always, give the cards a quick cleanse and a bless. And of course, when I do the read angel oracle cards, I always read the cards what you need to know for your highest good at this moment in time. Because even though I work with the past, and when we go into the past, we learn, we heal, we resolve it so that it doesn't affect us in the present. And when I could take people into the future, so we can see, understand, know then they get the steps to take so that we can come back to the present, so we're not focused on it in the present. So we'll just Erin and everyone who's watching this. Okay, we'll go with that one. And the card we've got is unknown territory. You're exactly where you need to be.
Oh, that's appropriate.
I know. I can never ever make this up on all the shows I do, that the card always ties in with what we've been talking about and everything we've been doing. So, it is saying, Erin, that you are exactly where you are meant to be at this moment in time. And it doesn't matter if it is unknown to you, it is absolutely perfect. And again, to anyone who's watching, don't worry if you are in that unknown territory where things don't seem like they normally seem, and it feels a little uncomfortable, because know that you are exactly where you need to be at this moment in time. So lean into it, experience it with all your five senses, and see where it will lead you. So yeah, beautiful card that has come out for everyone. So Erin, do you have any insights or thoughts or last words of wisdom to leave our viewers?
Yeah, I love the saying the body keeps the score. So, a lot of times, mentally, after hearing what we've talked about, you might be thinking, I didn't really experience any trauma. My childhood was great. Yes. And sometimes those pieces are just sitting here. So, if you're feeling blocked, that might be why.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, because a lot of people do think, that you have to have had lots of trauma to have blocks and issues, but sometimes you can had the most perfect, but it's those little perfections that actually hold you back from experience and more things. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I hope everyone you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful, because I know I definitely have. So if people want to connect with you, Erin, how do they do that? And do you have anything coming up at the moment? Any free gifts offers to share?
Yeah. So, probably the best way to connect with me is my Facebook, which is Erin Berry Bliss. Everything's Erin Berry Bliss. That's my website as well as my Instagram. And I actually have a couples retreat here in Colorado, which is where I am in the mountains, October 3rd through 5th. So that's my upcoming event. And then I'm actually in the midst of creating a new free gift. But I do have a quiz for singles that I can send you the link to, that kind of shows you where your somatic blocks are, so that you can move forward, figure out where they are so you can do something about it.
Ah, that'll be a beautiful gift. Yeah, please do send that link to us. That'll be absolutely amazing to do that. Where did the bliss come from? Erin Berry Bliss. Where did the bliss come from?
I wish it was my actual legal last name. But after I got divorced and I really leaned into my healing, it's like the world just opened up because I got past that resistance and I was leading this blissful life. And when I created my business, I wanted to have something that was a word instead of like my name, in case that ever changed. And so I went with Berry Blissful is actually my LLC.
I love it. Oh, I think that is brilliant. Uh,
Yeah.
I I love it. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you, Erin, so much for sharing your wisdom. It's been absolutely a pleasure talking to you. And of course, if you'd like to continue deepening your connection with angels, then I have a free 5-day angel connection journey to help you open your channel and start receiving clear messages from your guides. And for those of you who'd love ongoing support, guidance, community, then my Angel Wings membership is a beautiful space where we come together for live guided meditations, angelic reiki, and soul nourishing practices to support your growth and well-being. And you'll also receive access to a beautiful library of past meditations and teachings. So you always have the go help and guidance whenever you need it. And of course, if you are feeling ready for a truly personal transformation, then my Soul Path Discovery program with personal sessions is a powerful journey of healing and self discovery to help you release old patterns, reconnect with your soul gifts, and align you with the life of your purpose, abundance, and fulfillment that you were always meant to live. And all links will be in the comments so you can explore whichever feels right for you, along with all the links to Erin's. Uh, Way of connecting with Erin. And of course, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. And I'd like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more people who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny, just like you. And of course, you know the drill. If you're watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe and hit that bell button to be notified of when this show goes live or I post new guided meditations. And remember, every time you watch any of my videos, any of Erin's, any of my guest videos, or, you know what, see any of our social media posts, you know, please do comment, like, share, because it really helps get our message out there. And you can be part of that beautiful web of life, bringing that new life, that unconditional love, that peace on earth to everyone around with all the wisdom of my wonderful guests. And I look forward to you joining me same time, same place next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
And that's